Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2 to GSL level Terrans. Fighting it out. A civil war on one of the most creative maps, I will say, that we've seen in StarCraft 2. You should recognize them, but in case you don't, let me introduce in the bottom left. It is fantasy, but this is a real life. Okay, don't. And proxy raxing in the top right, the Gatekeeper Terran, Cure. I believe he got his Nestea award for 10 GSLs. I don't know if that's in a row or not, but Cure is in a curious player, because he's one of those, they're called Gatekeeper Terrans because they're the players who essentially can beat anyone, but are usually the underdog against everyone. At least in GSL they come up against. They're the type of player that can ruin your hero's run, like a Scarlet or a Special or even a Maru on a good day. But they're just not quite consistent enough. Alive is another one, or Keen, that sometimes just break out, look like a genius on day one, and then on day two it's like, oh, I wish Scarlet had made it. Like, I don't... So, it's a cheese! Fantasy immediately sends the SCV out and scouts this. So he actually delayed it. This SCV is getting some real work done. He's buttering those. Oh, he was gonna go for it. He was gonna commit. Even if he had lost the SCV, I think if he had seen it cut, like if he saw an opportunity, he would have went for it. Like, still boxing out. So we delayed the second. So this is a 2 Rex Reaper, which is not the be-all end-all. Like, he doesn't have to end it with Reapers, but Fantasy is on thin ice here, essentially. Like, he really has to minimize the damage these Reapers do. He's going to have maybe another SCV or two. He's going to have quicker... What? Did you see that? What? That SCV just, like, popped out. The hell? Okay, anyways, fortunately, the factory does finish. SCVs will be lost. That is the price you pay in this scenario of not outright delaying or building a bunker. But if you build a... Oh no, he didn't even kill one Reaper. More Reapers coming out. The damage is being done. 4 SCVs thus far. Oh, Hellion and Reaper had a fortuitous timing. 7 SCVs though. Oh, it's a little rough, but a very smart positioning for the starport. It's going to be a Liberator, more than likely. The factory just now started, and get this, these are not Han and Horner Reapers. They can't shoot up. There's going to be a window where a Liberator can just kill every SCV that tries to mine, and return their cargo at least. So, oh my god, back for revenge! That SCV would pay for its transgressions. Is he gonna find the starport though? He didn't see. It's so close to the base. He's not expecting it. Immediately adds on a tech lab. Is there gonna be enough at home? This could be a game-ending Liberator. This is what Fantasy lost all those SCVs for. It was for this Liberator. And Liberation is indeed at hand. I don't think there's enough Reapers to really do the damage. The Liberator means no more mining. This is a no mining zone. He's gonna have to wait an entire Cyclone build time. 32 seconds. So... mining, there's just a quick pause on the mining here. It's not game over yet because there's potential. I don't know if that's enough Reapers here, to be honest. Like, oh, that's a full spread, but that's just not enough. The slow zone's not going to help. Oh, great grenades. We'll keep them alive for now. The Cyclone about to finish. A couple Marines were built to box out, but this is advantage Fantasy for sure. Oh, but the Cyclone locks on. This Cyclone is still vulnerable. The command center will be delayed. The worker count, a little bit better for Cure, but remember, he wasn't mining for quite a bit. Does he have enough for a Viking? He can get a Viking. He really needs that base. Oh my god, he's boxed him out of his own command center on the low ground. He got a little greedy. He can maybe lock on. It's very risky. Oh, there's another Liberator! Oh no! It's a disaster. on all fronts. Fantasy is picking apart Cure. He can't find the antidote. He finds the starport, though, in an awkward position. The Cyclone locks on, knocks down one. Back at home. Now, there isn't a command center here, but there's now no command center for Cure. He's stopped the bleeding. Oh, he's gonna try to... Is there any anti-air, actually? I guess Vikings, kind of. He locks onto the starport. This is a bit of a mess. So Cure is not out of it yet, but... Oh, the star... You can't let those in. No, keep them out. Keep them out. Oh, it's bouncy house time. Command center spots the orbital building. So overall, the Cure with the classic Terran move. Now we've all beat each other back to the Stone Age. We don't really have the economy or the production to build that many units to win the game. So the only other option is go completely the other direction with total greed. So, what is the play from here? I wish you could hire that mercenary ship. Cure will have 2 command centers, and he'll have both of them quicker, I believe, than Fantasy CC. But he's kind of stuck up his ramp. Whereas Fantasy is slowly rebuilding. He's rebuilding a starport. He's got a soft contain. In fact, he could have maybe pressed the issue before this tank comes out, but the tank will finish. And with that tank and a Viking... Okay. That tank needs to figure out where to go. Right on the edge here. So, it appears, despite all the early punches here, we're going to be in a macro game. Reapers, though. There's still an opportunity to throw a few jabs. The scan spots the tank on the high ground. The Banshee is going to make things difficult. These Reapers are going to get slammed and jammed. A couple will go... No, not even close, baby. Oh, and he gets a Hellion. What a play. And at the same time, the tanks will be picked up. He was microing on the other side. The Reaper's doing well, but he missed the opportunity to maybe get the tanks. This is an awkward exchange, because here comes the tank evac. Not like it was back in the day, but still very dangerous to these Reapers. He's going for that one. He's not going to find it. So, everybody's back home. What's going on? What's the situation? Fantasy 2 bases. Less workers. But he's been producing. He has 4 tanks. He's got a Raven. Does his opponent... No, Cure not building any Ravens. He committed to a Banshee, which is kind of a short-term option, especially when you're not even investing in the cloak. But he does have 3 command centers. So overall, in terms of infrastructure, advantage to Cure. And he's got... Well, neither side is really going upgrades yet. Despite Fantasy looking very threatening. Fantasy, let us not forget that the Liberator stopped mining for, like, a full 30-plus seconds. Like, Cure had to sit there with his SCV's fusion cutters in his hand for 30 seconds. Maybe a little more than that. Unable to do anything. But, at the same time, he did delay and kill a lot of SCVs with the Reapers, so... Now, this is a little awkward. Because there's no cloak, but technically Banshees are... Oh, the dance! Yeah, there's nothing the Raven... Okay, there we go. Alright. He's just trying to bait him in. But finally... Everything's calmed down for now. Cure is, by a large margin, going to have all his important infrastructure. Fantasy has 1 barracks. Cure has 3 going on 5. Now, I'm not a math expert, but 5 is oftentimes considered to be, by most people, 99% of scientists agree, 5 is more than 1. So, there will be a power spike here for Cure in just, essentially right around when 1-1's finishing. Where Cure just has a ridiculous amount of production. And on top of that, look, Fantasy doesn't have any upgrades. He kind of stayed too long on that very early mid-game tech. He doesn't have an engineering bay. He's building 2 now. So Fantasy is in a world of what is this, the Medevac Highway? Did they not see each other? So I don't think either of these Medevacs is going to find success. But now Cure is moving out. Does he have? Oh, okay. Well, that's something for Fantasy. He might not. Well, he knows it. He scanned. He saw it. He saw the barracks. He saw the timing. He knows right now that he has to do everything in his power to buy time. He has to box out as much aggressive defense as possible. A single medevac is maybe even more than he can afford, to be honest. But Fantasy has to play some catch-up. He's got to start those upgrades right now. He's a full set of upgrades behind. That drops directly on the tanks. One goes down. The Marine bomb's a nice scramble there. The army on the low ground. Can he just blast through? The scan is super obvious where he's coming from. He saw the army across the map with those scouting Marines. Okay, so 2-2 starts. The upgrade. I cannot stress in this Marine tank situation how important those upgrades are. Every single one of those Marines, they shoot so fast and there are so many of them. The splash damage is affected by armor as well from the tanks. Like the Marines, they're one of the most important units in the entire game to get upgrades in a timely manner for. And guess what? Fantasy is far behind. Oh. This drop going to be knocked down. Now, if he can get... So here's the best case scenario for Fantasy. He gets to 200 supply without Cure transitioning into the super late game. As half of Tastosis would say, the supreme late game. Doesn't matter which half. Which is air control and either Liberators or maybe even, I dare whisper, battle cruisers. So if you are even on supply, you can't fight that. Oh no, this is a... Get out of there. Get out of there. Okay. So, the Supreme late game, if you have 100, if you're down 10, 20 supply, if you're down a couple upgrades, a good defensive posture, and maybe a couple lucky engagements will keep you in. But against someone who gets 12 Vikings, 4 Liberators, and a dozen tanks, like, you just don't have the ability to keep up. Your units are just not as good, and they can't engage cost effectively. Now, the scan on the main army. Fantasy is going to try to jump this. There's almost nothing at home. The units are all loaded up. Now is the time to strike. Now is the time. Every tank is loaded up in here. This counterattack. Some reinforcements already in place. He drops the tanks out. Fantasy might have had an opportunity, but he's not going to be able to stick with it. So Fantasy starts his 2-2. He's catching up in those upgrades. He's secured his 4th. He caught a great timing on Cure's army, and Cure was forced into a significant retreat. But how long on the sensor tower? Oh no. That high ground, the gas gases are vulnerable. Right now, Fantasy's pretty lucky that he's pretty lucky he didn't bring down the whole army. But this is where Cure is strongest. He has the 2-2 to 1-1 advantage. He has map control. He's already shelling the 4th. He has a 5th of his own on the way. There's enough units. He has enough production. Both sides have drawn even. Actually, Fantasy has one less factory. Oh, the tanks scrambled. In fact, Fantasy made some... Well, he had some Raven before, but trying to push in on the other side. The tanks not looking so hot. The reinforcements are on the way. The cavalry is here. Fantasy rotates around and boxes out. Still, oh, the scrambles on the tanks across the board. Incredibly well done. Fantasy refuses to break. Oh, he's going to try to drop right on top of the tanks. I don't know. It could be a disaster. Cure, what are you doing? He's throwing away every Marine. What? No. Cure. That just trying to fit a square peg into a non-existent hole there. He had Vikings and Ravens. You might be like, well, he didn't have any other anti-air. Yeah, he didn't need it. So... Cure is going down the road of pain. He will still have more bases. He's going to have plenty of units, but he has lost all serious map control. He no longer has that opportunity to keep Fantasy under control and go for the late game. He is building a fusion core, but that's a little late. That's like a Diamond League level of, oh, I lost my whole army. What else can I build? What are you doing, Cure? I can't believe that was incredibly... Did he just, in his mind, maybe he's blind and he can't see. Like, he has a selective blindness where he can't see Ravens and Vikings somehow. I don't know. He's like, well, maybe if Fantasy, this... decades, like literally playing professional StarCraft for well over a decade. Maybe he won't pay attention. Maybe he won't notice that I'm doing this. It's like, even then, it was still a bad idea. I don't know. He's even going to double down. He's getting rapid reignition, the upgrade that barely anyone knows the actual name of, for the medevac boost cooldown reduction. It's a pretty cheap upgrade. Honestly, it's something that you should end up getting eventually, but... Rapid reignition systems. I'll repeat that for those of you who might not know what it is because they've never seen it before. This army going to be smashed down here. Fantasy slowly bringing a fist of Terran together to potentially knock it across. Is that? Okay, there's 3 tanks. What are the mech weapons? +1, +2 for Cure. It's been an upgrade advantage for Cure the whole game. But it has not felt like it with these fights. Alright, the rocks in the center. The slow zones as well. That is a choke point. You don't want to get caught between a rock and a hard place. The Viking count for Cure. 12 to 15 for Fantasy. Where are they? Oh my god, that was oh, that's a lot of tech. Bring your ear protection. I think the Marines have the suits, so they're okay. Well, the Vikings a little out of position. Cure? You can't fight those tanks. Where are your tanks? Why are they over here?
Base is under attack.
Liberators coming out. Advanced ballistics, not in production yet, but high sec auto trekking, as well as Neil Steel armor. So... all the defensive Terran, it's been a continuous set of exchanges. Let's look at the units lost. Yeah, that does not surprise me that Kira's lost 4,000 more resources. But it comes down, if you can starve your opponent out, if the Red Army can throw enough Marines to their deaths, but still have more to replace them, that is what matters at the end of the day. Fantasy, he's banking up. Well, both sides are banking up now. Fantasy's still looking for that 3-3 to finish. He's not quite there yet. The standoff continues. Now remember, there are quite a lot of tanks on both sides. It's an interesting dance. Not canceling isn't a big deal when this fight is happening! The Viking count for Fantasy is incredibly high! So now there's a moment for Kira. So much of the supply of Fantasy is in Vikings. There's this awkward position before the 2 battle cruisers, which is what he was holding his supply for. Before the 2 battle cruisers. This is the play. This is, oh my god. This has been a disaster before. These Titanic lifeboats. But he has the rapid reignition systems. The scan misses the medevacs. He's gonna go for the nat. You gotta go for the nat. He scans the army. No, go all the way. Don't drop there. Don't stop there. Straight for the heart of the Terran. He's going for the production. There's not that many units that can actually respond quickly. This is why this is the only play. Fantasy's building 5 CCs at a time. He's bringing the whole army back. He goes for the advanced ballistics upgrade. He might not realize those are battle cruisers on the way. These Marines will die, but the Marines and the other units that replace them... Oh, he's typing the starports! The starport's so important! The army out of position here. Cure might be able to move up. Now he needs to move up. He's gonna go for the fusion core. He gets the core. Cure is playing by the seat of his Terran Marine power armor suits. And getting the fusion core, a starport, advanced ballistics. He's bought himself more time and more space. The entire Terran army is out of position. That scan is going to give everything away. Fantasy has to know what's about to happen, but he's not going to move into position in time to stop it. What is the Viking count? 14 to 15. Still some Ravens for Fantasy, which will definitely turn the tides. I don't know what the air upgrades. +1 for each side. No armor. The exchange continues. Dorito dust across the board. The tanks obliterate the planetary. Left to die. Underneath. I think it's time to drop the Vikings here. Drop the Vikings! Meanwhile, battle cruisers jump into action. Just going all out. Well, Cure's gonna go for it. He's going for everything on the ground. There are more than enough Marines for Fantasy. Cure no longer has an upgrade advantage. He doesn't have air control either. And suddenly Cure is knocked back down once again. All his Marines essentially die. There's command centers all over the place, but the battle cruisers, the planetary, a massive design flaw. It cannot shoot up. So far. Marines, not a great counter to battle cruisers. Well, they have +3. There's a +1 armor for Fantasy. Once those battle cruisers get +3 armor, the Marines are shooting BB guns at them, essentially. They really need something heavier, like Vikings, battle cruisers themselves, sometimes Ravens, but usually Vikings are the best option. Every base is being taken on both sides. So, despite everything, let's look at the units lost. Cure has lost 8,000 more resources, 6,000 minerals, and about 2k gas. But we are no closer to a conclusion. Fantasy had to spend time rebuilding starports. I don't know what the command center count is at. 9 for both sides. Fantasy just finished up. He's got double-digit orbitals. The jump away. The engagements continue. I don't know what kind of ground army. You actually got to be careful not to have too many SCVs at this stage because you have so many orbitals and you need the army to hold position. The Marines will split and stim and try to take this down. It's not going to be easy. Both sides have the defensive upgrades. Vikings on the deck as well to help out. That base will be taken out. Fantasy feels like he doesn't quite have the army. He's got 3 battle cruisers in the mail. The Venn diagram scans from both sides. It's hard to tell whose is whose. The summary is that they both see one another and decide to back off for now. 4 battle cruisers on the way. Fantasy, not much of a bank. Cure, no minerals, but a lot of gas in case he wants, especially Ravens at this stage become very useful again once we've gotten into the supreme late game. Cure has maintained the initiative throughout the match, but at the cost of many more units. He's actually going to go for it. Do we have the scrambles here? Anti-armor missile coats Cure's army. An even deeper shade of red. The liberation zones, a Venn diagram of freedom, shutting things down. And so far, Fantasy, he doesn't have the battle cruisers. He needs the cruisers. There's a couple in the front. Yamato cannons. Gonna hit 1-2 liberators? They do. Down goes 1 cruiser. Anti-armor missile gonna help out the Vikings. A whole bunch here. The scrambles as well. He's gonna lose the Ravens. The battle cruiser holds the front. There's nothing else happening. Down goes the base. Liberation zone gonna help out. Supplies are dead even. A lot of Marines trapped in the corner. There are no battle cruisers yet, but now battle cruisers out of Fantasy! The Yamato cannons across the board. The armor upgrades +2, meaning the Marines having a real tough time taking those things down. Especially when tactical jump, especially defensively, is off a cooldown. He's going to drive it back. He'll lose the base, but not the battle. Battle cruisers. The flying laser bathtubs. Coasting. The Marines desperately trying to chase. How many tanks on the ground for Fantasy? He still has 5. They're just not here. Jumps away. Good repair. Fantasy still ahead on supply, but Cure has all the other bases. Well, Fantasy's down to 44 SCVs, meaning his standing or flying army is significantly greater in supply, but can he really attack with it? Cure has secured, I'm not even going to count, I'm going to say 8 bases that he's mostly mining from. The income starting to be a dramatic difference. One of Fantasy's 10 command centers that are orbitals. Taking down another army, but this one, not nearly enough Marines. The reignition systems will escape. Honestly, how many medevacs do you even need right now? Another army moving towards the center. The battle cruiser count. The capital ships. Looking to put some punctuation on this game. So far, plenty of Marines on the ground. They're going to box out the tanks. There's not that much here. The ground army can easily be glassed by the battlecruisers. They'll just go straight over everything. Fantasy catches a lot of the air as well. The very important Vikings getting gunned down from the ground before the battlecruisers cruise through the skies. Yamato cannon going to be very helpful. Cure struggling despite all that extra mineral mining. He's lost 10,000 more resources. He's desperately building anti-air, but he can't stop the cruisers. Is it tactical jump back off cooldown? Yes, it is. Tactical jump is on 9. Turrets, no match. Those +2/+2 battle cruisers. Still some Marines. Fantasy taking back control of this game. The Viking count is too damn high, though. He jumps everything away. Does he jump at home? He jumps at home. He doesn't jump into another location to attack. So Kira still has more supply. The anti-armor missiles, the battlecruisers aren't quite here yet. We'll see some Yamatos in the first valley. Across the front, Marines on the top, tanks as well. The Vikings, there is no tactical jump. He just used it. Kira trying to take down the incredibly important air. Are there enough Vikings? He's targeting down battlecruisers. Another valley of Yamato cannon. Kira down to 100 supply. Marines finding more SCVs. He dips under 100. He's under triple digits. Battlecruisers bleeding out on their way across the map. He doesn't drive Cure all the way back to his base, but the battlecruisers maintain 8 kills, 19 kills. A lot of battlecruisers went down there. He's lost 4. They're not cheap, but Fantasy is playing the cost-effective game here. There's so many orbitals on both sides. If either claims a mining location, they can instantly drop a ton of mules on it and jumpstart that income, which they need to do here. Jumps down. Where the Viking count for Fantasy. He's back to the air. Cure is building a little bit of everything now. Adding on the Ravens because he's so short on the minerals. 12 SCVs for Fantasy go down. 35 left. The battlecruisers looking for a location. They can jump into action. They should be off cooldown on that. They are. Tactical jump is off cooldown. The Vikings looking for the base, and they're gonna find it. But there's more where that came from. It's still unclear. 120 to 120 supply. Cure. So many Marines. So far, 272 Marines and 33 siege tanks sent to their death. Almost double that. In fact, over double on the tank count. That of Fantasy. But all that matters is he's the last man standing. How do you kill the battle cruisers? That's the question. Fantasy starting to mine out of his 5th base. Oh, the scramble from the Ravens! Disables tactical jump and Yamato cannon. Are there more Ravens? There are not. Still very cost effective. The cruisers can jump. They all jump away. Back to the shipyard. Still even. A breather. They stare each other down. The battlecruisers need to move. The battlecruisers have kept Fantasy in this game, and they need to carry him over the finish line. These tanks need to be adjusted. The Marine count for Cure, he's been banking off a significantly higher mineral income. The battlecruisers, they're going to go look for the economy again. Will that be a critical mistake, or will it gut Cure enough so that way Fantasy can finally jump back to defend? Every second counts here. Tactical jump is 20 seconds or so off cooldown. Fantasy needs to hold the line until then. He should be able to more than do so. Cure is probably going to let that base go. He knows about tactical jump, believe it or not. He's looking for, well, he's looking to secure another location. We're running out of mineral patches. The battlecruiser's obliterating everything underneath. Cure does not have the time to waste. The turrets are absolutely no match, not even remotely close. He's gonna go for it. The Dorito dust, the anti-armor. He's looking for the concave. He finds it for now. When will the battlecruisers jump back? And do they need to? Cure is already losing so much, and he doesn't even have the cruisers here. He's barely breaking the tanks. There's still plenty of Vikings. He breaks the ground army. But at the same time, the battlecruisers obliterating. They've come to finish the fight. He called in the fleet. He will be able to stop the tanks. The Marines finding Vikings, though. Maybe a little bit slow on the jump. and he didn't get the base there. A single Marine gutting down SCVs. Fantasy's down to 25. Where are these reinforcements coming from? They're both on mule-based economy, both under 100 supply. Cure is actually down a little bit lower. Neither are able to maintain their outlying bases. Fantasy desperately needs a new one. He's out of gas income, but he has 4 battle cruisers, and he has a dream. He needs to attack. He needs to attack decisively. He needs to push the issue before Cure can rebuild, because he's still mining and has access to multiple locations. Despite how flexible the battle cruisers are, at some point, Cure's gonna grind him down, because he's maintaining control of the side bases. He's been able to mine intermittently from both corners, and that eventually will mean, unless, well, Cure's 17,000 resources down. That's almost the resources of a full base. So maybe we're having a conversation there. But Cure is continually able to produce. He finds 3 tanks. It's getting harder and harder for Fantasy to hold on to his bases without his battle cruisers, and his battle cruisers are the only thing he can do to challenge Cure. Has he decided, I'm not even going to bother? I'm just going to play defensive? Because there's a chance that he could play the incredibly long game and just mine him out, even with 1 or even 2 less bases. But he could rely on the cost efficiency of the battle cruisers, which he's been doing so far. The Marines are going to find another base. Cure just bleeding Marines. Oh, the Vikings! He jumps away! Yamato Valley into tactical jump. Name a more iconic combo. Marines will find neither side's SCV is going to survive in any meaningful way. The orbital taken out. The Marines will be chased down and put them in prime position to take out another base. Tanks are already here. Fantasy, this is essentially his only clean mining. Where are the battle cruisers going? You already know there's nothing here. This is no time for caution. He drops on top of the tank. He will eventually tank it out. Take it. Take it out. Marines will not save the tank, but get some reinforcements. What? We need the cruisers. Well, why are these still here? Cure did not do his due diligence, and now he'll lose some more SCVs. The battle cruiser is waiting for their moment. This base is entirely mined out. There's nothing. There's no point. Same pretty much here. There's a few hundred minerals left, but the battle cruisers are everything. He lives and dies by the fleet. Are there any ravens? There are no ravens to disable them. Can he stop the cruisers? Does he even try? There are no ravens for either side. Marines are no match. He's gonna take out sensor towers. He's microing a little. I'm surprised he's not microing for more HP. I guess he doesn't want to risk the ravens. And he doesn't want to spend too much time repairing. We're at a scenario where time repairing is an important resource. On top of actual resources, Cure is now, he's been rich for the entire game, but at some point you run those resources dry. You didn't have a plan for when the resources ran out, and suddenly Cure's struggling to find income. Like that old TERRAN proverb, I started with SCVs, and then my father started with SCVs. I built siege tanks and Marines. My son built siege tanks and Marines, but his son will build SCVs, and his son will be dead. It'll be very sad. We have no resources. I don't know. Kind of screwed that up, but Cure maybe finally has a position. Both sides trading bases. That was going to be a lot more clever than it was. Never mind that. Speaking of clever, some base trades happening on both sides. What a fitting way for this to potentially end. Drops on top. The SCVs being eliminated on both sides. We're getting to the point where the amount of buildings... At one point, there were double-digit command centers for both sides. There were over 20 command centers on the entire map. But guess what? Now, we're under 10 on the whole map. And dropping fast, to be honest. This engagement's so critical. Where are the cruisers? They come in for the flank. Are there enough of them? Do they have tactical jump? Jump is online. He needs to time this out. The orbital under fire. Fantasy's Marines are coming to reinforce. He doesn't want to engage this heads up. Down goes another orbital. Somehow, we're still even on supply. What are you doing, SCVs? Okay, get it together. Cure, how does he stop the final boss? How does he stop the battle cruisers, though? He only has Marines, barely any Vikings. Oh my god. Cure, still 20,000 more resources lost, but not that much more, less than 2k. This is Cure's only mining base. The standing armies are slightly bigger for Cure here. The scan kind of gives away your play, so does the sensor tower. Cure will no longer be mining for now, but he'll drop down another command center. He's actually sending it all the way to the corner. He finds a position. There are tanks on the high ground. This game, 35 minutes! I don't know what it feels like, but it doesn't feel like 35 minutes. Somehow that seems wrong. Either 10 minutes or an hour. Somewhere in there. Remember, this started with Cure proxy rexing. The whole journey here has been the entirety of the tech tree. At this point, since nobody has income, we just look at the units tab. The concave from Fantasy. Is it a dream? No, it's just Fantasy. But anyways, Cure's gonna attack in. Not all the tanks were siege. He's gotta go for it. I don't know, Kev. A lot of medevacs here for Cure. An overwhelming amount, potentially. The battlecruisers jump into the fray. But are they late to the fight? Can the battlecruisers beat these Marines? He used the tactical jump. The battlecruisers are so incredibly strong. There's almost no income. The battle, 45 kills, 41, 51, almost 200 kills on the cruisers. And he brings it to victory all the way home. The battle cruisers taking the game all the way from start to finish. 111 Marines, 8 medevacs, 4 Hellions, 41 Vikings, 4 Reapers, 5 Liberators, 29 tanks, 271 Marines, 5 battlecruisers, and 18 Ravens. 18 Ravens from Fantasy? He kept popping. I definitely didn't see it. I guess they just kept dying. Whereas from Cure, 114 SCVs, 30 medevacs, a Banshee, 87 Vikings, 6 Reapers, 1 Cyclone, 8 Liberators, 36 Siege Tanks, 512 Marines. 512 Marines. And 3 Ravens. Maybe should have built more Ravens. Both sides, this is the income at the end of the game. Oh my god. Less income than they started with. In fact, Cure had 9 SCVs at the end. What a game. Just randomly picked out of Wardy's replay pack for the previous month. Wardy, check him out, twitch.tv/WardyTV, and on YouTube, I assume the same thing. But he gives out a replay pack for the low price of subscribing for free with Twitch Prime, if you've heard of it. But I just picked out a random game. The random gods are with us today. Alright, and now if you could pause ad block real quick, we have a public service announcement. That'd be awesome. I'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Winter, and I'm here to talk about all the exciting ways you can support StarCraft 2 content. Everybody knows there are the top 2 ways, and then I'll give you the top 2, and then I'll give you those sneaky, underhanded, amazing, incredible esports saving ways as well. But first, what you can do, and is what I want you to do, is go into Twitch chat, and on every stream you can find, is to type, "Is this game still worth playing?" I heard it was dead from my friend, because streamers love that, and that really gives them, like, puts them off in a positive note, and they're happy to tell you more about it. And also, of course, some commentary, like, on YouTube, it's very important to insult multi-GSL qualifying players like Cure and say they're bad, and, like, is this Bronze League Heroes? Because they've only qualified for GSL, like, 10 plus times. So therefore, they're probably not very good, based on where you're sitting. But besides that, what you can do, YouTube is really pushing me on this. You actually ring the bell. because then you get notified. I'm going to spoil it for you. Every day there's a video. But guess what? You might forget. It might be another day, and you might be like, huh. I have things going on in my life for some reason. I didn't watch the video, but guess what? Notification. Bam! Right there. And also subscribe to Twitch Prime. But thank you. And now back to originally scheduled programming. I hope you found this enlightening and helpful. And you did, or if you liked it, you know what to do. Thank you. Have an amazing day.